laws of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back to In Focus Maine. Governor Janet Mills was sworn in January of 2019. Among her accomplishments is the expansion of Maine Care to ensure those in need get appropriate care. But that initiative is now facing the loss of federal funding. We talked about tariffs and trade. Let's talk about President Trump's self-proclaimed big beautiful bill. You've been a critic of it. You have some concerns about the impacts it will have on health care for Mainers.
Certainly.
What are those concerns?
Well, the Congressional Budget Office itself estimated that it would cost, they've booked savings in the billions of dollars. Savings from what? From taking people off of Maine Care, Medicaid. And in Maine, we've estimated that 34,000 people would be coming off of Maine Care, Medicaid, because of inability to be eligible anymore. And so that's very disturbing. Along with that, turning back the ACA, the measures of the ACA that allow stipends for health insurance premiums. We have a marketplace in Maine. We've been promoting that. In fact, many people transferred off of Maine Care last year to go on to a special plan on private health insurance with the subsidies that are allowed under the ACA. The big bill does a lot to do away with those as well, and that's a shame. Our insurance rates are going up as it is. To send them up any further, to impose thousands of dollars of obligations on Maine families each year to pay for higher insurance is a tragedy in itself. And to take people off of Medicaid as their primary health insurer is also, it's unproductive. It doesn't allow people, look, if you have a diagnosis of stage 3 or 4 cancer, obviously you're going to need health care. Everybody needs health care. You got to go to a doctor once a year to get a physical. You should anyway. Right. And without that kind of basic health insurance. I had a friend named Patty who, before the ACA kicked in and before we expanded Medicaid in Maine, got a late diagnosis of breast cancer. It was too late for her to get the preventative treatment and the treatment she needed to save her life. And she died solely because of a late diagnosis, which wouldn't have happened if she had been able to have Medicaid, health insurance. One of the first things I did in office was to follow the will of the Maine people and expand Maine Care. The expansion group alone was up to about 100,000 people. Now about 400,000 people in Maine get their health insurance and stay employed, stay productive because of Maine Care. So it's important to everybody. And you look at the polls, people do value Medicaid. Of course they value Medicaid. To turn the clocks back on Medicaid is a terrible thing to do.
Do you think this will cost lives?
Yes, absolutely. Like my friend who didn't have the money to go to a doctor, didn't have health insurance, and didn't go until it was too late because she couldn't afford health insurance. No person in Maine should suffer that consequence. No person in this country, the most advanced country in the world, no person should suffer a fate like that because they can't afford and find health insurance.
Another concern you have is the impact of the bill on food assistance programs like SNAP. What does this mean for Mainers?
It means that there'll be substantial reductions in food stamps or SNAP benefits. And I've heard different versions of that bill. I've yet to see the final language, but because it's 900 pages long. But from what the Congressional Budget Office says in their objective analysis, many people will be denied food stamps, especially children and young families. Well, okay, if this president insists on continuing and even expanding perhaps tax breaks for billionaires, that's one thing. That ought to be debated on its merits. But to do that in a bill that also takes away nutrition, food from hungry children, why? Why go there? That doesn't save money for the federal budget.
During your opioid response summit last month, you expressed some concerns about the impact this bill could have on those who are struggling with addiction and substance abuse. What are your concerns?
A lot of people are getting treatment for substance abuse through Medicaid. It's their payor, it's their health insurance. When we expanded Medicaid 6.5 years ago, first week in office, as the people voted to do, five times it was vetoed by the previous governor, Mr. LePage. But the people of Maine voted to expand MaineCare. He vetoed the bill. When I took office, I did as the people wanted, as the people wished. As a result of that, thousands of people who had suffered in silence from substance use disorder, mental health issues, and other untreated issues got health care. And that's one way that people have sought and obtained successfully treatment for drug abuse in general. And we need that to continue. We need to help those, we need to prevent drug abuse and substance abuse disorder in the first place.
The president's bill also extends to energy as well, impacting, home heating, electricity, clean energy initiatives. Tell us about your concerns with that. I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart.
Right. He's pretty much wedded to the oil and gas industry. It seems pretty obvious from his campaign and from things he's said and done since he took office. Well, that's fine if he wants to be wedded to the oil and gas industry, but honestly, more than 50% of Maine people rely on oil to heat their homes. Oil and gas, mostly oil. That's a huge out-of-pocket expense for most Maine families. Maine has the highest dependency on fossil fuels for home heat of any state in the country. So we look at it a little differently than this president does. We look at the need to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels for home heating. We look at the need for alternatives. And heat pumps, for instance, we've reached over 100,000 homes with newly installed heat pumps in recent years. We look at wind power, we look at geothermal, all kinds of alternatives at generating electricity and generating heat. It's important to do that, not because we don't like oil and gas, but because we need alternatives that are more affordable, more dependable.
We've talked about health care, SNAP. Is there anything that you can do or the state of Maine can do to combat and offset some of the impacts of this bill on your residents?
It's a huge bill. Mm-hmm. It's a mega bill or MAGA bill, mega bill, and there's a lot in it. I think we're only starting to see what's in it. We're only starting to feel the impact of the bill, and honestly, the president, the administration, and the members of Congress who voted for the bill put off some of the negative effects until after the next election. I can't imagine why, but we're talking about it because it's real. Those negative effects are just as real as anything else in the bill.
There is still so much more to discuss with Governor Mills. Much more of our conversation after the break. You're watching In Focus Maine. Stay with us.